Dr. Vickers graduated from the University of Toronto, the National College of Naturopathic Medicine, and the Oregon College of Oriental Medicine.
Very good. So I'm going to talk about lupus and just some simple things that you can do. We hear that with the medicines there are a lot of side effects. So things that you can do to counteract the side effects that are safe, accessible, and hopefully effective. So I'm going to basically talk about 5 different things. I'm going to start with exercise, because we all know all of us need to exercise. So what we've learned with the studies is that if we look at the studies, we all need to exercise. It's good for our bones, it's good for our heart, it's good for our mind, sense of well-being, it decreases stress, it decreases inflammation. It's good for all of us. But when you have a chronic disease such as lupus, which has a great inflammatory component and is hard on your heart, hard on your kidneys, exercise becomes that piece that actually is a treatment. Not only is it good for you, but it's part of the treatment that you should do. And the should is the piece. How do I do it when I'm feeling so fatigued, or I have such joint pain I can hardly get out of bed? I haven't had enough sleep. And what we're understanding now, looking at the studies, is that with exercise, you can actually break it down. So can you set your timer on your kitchen clock and walk around your kitchen or around your house or around your apartment for 5 minutes before you sit down? When you get up to go to the bathroom, can you take an extra loop before you sit back down? So every little bit above baseline actually aids, helps. Well, the goal is 30 minutes a day. So if you break that 30 minutes a day into 5 6-minute segments, does that seem more accessible? Can you have bands when you're sitting and use bands in your chair that you do for 5 minutes at a time for 6 times a day? All of those things actually add up over baseline. Studies show that if you add even doing range of motion exercises, if you're in bed, doing range of motion exercises in bed for 30 minutes, not all at once, broken up, can actually make a difference. So when they look at lupus and they look at exercise, the studies say that while people are in, they usually do them for 3-month periods of time. It's usually 2 to 3 times a week for 30 minutes. You usually have a personal trainer. While people have that personal trainer and they're doing it, they're 30 minutes 2 to 3 times a week, people are able to do that. But as soon as the personal trainer goes away, compliance goes down and people aren't able to sustain it because they don't have someone there saying, how are you doing? Keep going. Yes, you can do this. It's harder for us to do that in our own head than it is to have someone cheerleading us on. So it's like, how can we do that for ourselves? So some of the things that I talk to my patients about is get YouTube. If you have access to a computer, you can put up little YouTube videos. There are many YouTube videos, 5-minute little segments that do bands, that do, walking, that can encourage you to just walk. Moderate walking is great. So anything that you can do above baseline is beneficial. So I always talk about if you're not doing any exercise at all, start with 5 minutes a day. You're worth 5 minutes a day. We're all worth 5 minutes a day. And do that for a week. And if you can do it for a week, then the next week try 10 minutes a day. And if you can do that, then the next week add 5 more minutes until you get up to 30 minutes a day. Now we've heard about the steroids and what steroids does to weight. We all know that when you're on a dose of steroids, you gain weight. One of the things that we can do with that, there's some studies that show that after eating, 30 minutes after eating, if you move for 10 minutes, that actually increases your metabolism a little bit. So there's some balance with that. You're going to gain weight on steroids. That's just the side effect. But we might be able to modulate that a little bit with a little movement. And I'm not talking about signing up for the marathon. I'm just talking about moderate walking around your house. You don't need to be in a gym. If you can get outside, that's great. You can do it when the sun isn't at its peak. So you can do it in the morning, you can do it later at night. But 30 minutes, so 10 minutes after each meal, moving, helps to increase your metabolism. So that's a goal to think about. So this is a study This is actually a comparison, a retrospective study looking at 7 different studies with lupus. And how does exercise affect fatigue? And all of the studies across the board, whether they were for 15 minutes, 30 minutes, 60 minutes, 2 to 3 times a day, showed that if you could do that for at least 30 days and 90 days, your energy increased. So we all want to try and move. Just do it is basically the idea with movement.